Hey guys, what is going on? We are in the zone, episode 146 today. I'm here as always with Giancarlo Aulino, Anthony Pagniello. Today, we're going to start this one off with some NBA drama because there's always NBA drama. Every single offseason, there's always that one player that doesn't want to play on the team that he's been with. And this year, it's Ben Simmons. Last year it was James Harden. This year it's Ben Simmons. Guys, do you see a potential trade before the season starts, or do you think Ben Simmons is going to have to hold out a couple games during the regular season this year?
I'm thinking, yeah, before the season. I'm kind of surprised it hasn't happened yet, not going to lie. I feel like we've been talking about this most weeks because Ben Simmons is always at the forefront of trade news. But yeah, I think he's going to be out of here before the season starts. I don't think he's going to have to hold out at all. It's just a matter of Philly getting what they want. Apparently, they've been asking for so much for so long. So yeah, let's see what happens here.
Yeah, I think so. I think this. I don't think he'll hold out because they've been trying to trade him ever since the draft, and especially now with all those reports coming out, I think this is his way of going to his management and saying that he wants to force his way out. So try and get a deal out. Philly, remember those reports that came out? All the offers that were going their way, they were turning down. They kind of wanted from the Raptors, Lowry, Van Fleet, OG, and the first. So I think the offer that they were asking for was a little too high, that price. So I think Ben Simmons forcing his way out is going to lower the price a little bit. I still think they want some first round picks. It's going to come down to a contract going the other way and matching that. Maybe a third team will have to get involved, but I think he'll be on another team to start the year.
Yeah, I agree too. It just I'm looking back at when Ben Simmons got drafted and the way that this team they just made him go right to point guard, and the whole ordeal was when he got drafted. The big time factor was we all know how great defensively he is coming right in the league, but it was his ability to play point guard that they were so infatuated with. 6'10", this guy can be a playmaker. They compared him. I heard some people saying Magic Johnson when he got drafted, which is way too high. But I saw this on Twitter. A couple of Philly fans were saying that the whole time that this guy was in Philly, they just didn't do the right thing, and they did not put him at the 4 spot. Do you guys think if Philly just went with him going at the 4, you have Harris, Simmons, and B, do you think maybe if they got a better point guard right away, you think that would have made this process actually work, or do you think this was just gonna fail the whole time?
I mean, maybe it would have spiced things up, but Ben Simmons has been with this team for how long now? 5, 6 years. Him and Embiid have been together for a while. I think it gets to a point now, like if they can't figure it out soon, maybe he's got to be on the way out. I don't know if it has to do anything with positionally, because we've been talking about that too, moving him at the 4, like he'd be better suited there. But I think it just comes down to his shooting, because everyone knows Ben Simmons is a great player, but that's just the one nagging thing about his game. So, yeah.
Okay, well, I got a couple trades here that they made on the score. I'm gonna talk about these 4 potential trade destinations for Ben Simmons, and I want to let you guys know, and I want to see if you guys agree. So the first one that I have here in front of me is, of course, the Golden State Warriors. They've been linked to Ben Simmons, I want to say, since June. So the proposed trade here is that the Warriors receive Ben Simmons and Tyrese Maxey, and the 76ers get a pretty big haul back. They get Wiggins obviously for the salary reason, the salary matching purpose. They get James Wiseman. They get Moses Moody, the guy that they just drafted, and a 2022 and a 2026 first round pick. I'll start with you, Aulino. Does this get the job done for both sides?
You know what? I think Philly should not trade him to Golden State just because that would make them, I think, over the hump, over the top of level of like perfect fits. If I'm them, I'm trying to trade him to Sacramento. I'm trying to trade him to maybe a team that's on the outside looking in, maybe even the Raptors. Try to lower the offer a bit because the Raptors probably won't be in that top 5. You won't have to worry about them. But I don't know, Golden State, like you're really helping them a lot because Ben Simmons going into that system is a perfect fit. You can worry about Steph Curry, sorry, and Clay, Draymond. Then you have Simmons at the 4. He doesn't have to shoot, just be a beast in the paint, facilitate offense. And Philly, they'll probably get those guys, but then Wiggins' contract, they'll probably want to move out. So I think that makes them a worse team to start, if anything. It makes Golden State a better team.
Chris, can you run through that again? It was Wiseman, Wiggins, and 2 firsts?
Wiseman, Wiggins, Moody, and 2 firsts for Maxey and Simmons.
Man, I think getting Maxey in there is low-key kind of a steal, but if they're comfortable parting ways with Wiseman, I don't see why not. Especially usually, also Wiggins is always thrown into these, so I'm not even looking at him. It's sad to say, but I'm not really looking at him as a valuable piece, even though he is a very good player. He's just kind of thrown into every single deal, like you just said, for the salary cap reasons. So Wiggins is in there. The fact that Draymond isn't in there is fucking magnificent. If you could have him and Ben in the 4 and the 5, and then with the shooters that Steph and Clay are. So for Golden State, I think that would be miraculous. But losing Wiseman and then like the first rounders at that point, like fuck whatever. But losing Wiseman, that would be tough.
Yeah, I agree there. I think it would work out, but at the same time, you're losing Ben Simmons, who's been your point guard, and they didn't really get a key off-season point guard Philly that we all expected. We thought maybe Kyle Lowry would go there, Kemba Walker would go there, just somebody of that nature. But even with Philly management knowing Ben Simmons potentially knew it was rocky after the year, they didn't go out and get a point guard. So I don't know who their starting point guard would be if this deal were to go through. I think I agree with you, Aulino. I think if Ben Simmons goes to Golden State, it's not a wrap, but they're right there with the Lakers in going into next year, I think, as contenders. Simmons and Draymond defensively that's just a deadly duo. And then you have the offense in Clay and Steph back, the Splash Brothers. So either way, if that were to go through, I think it would be a really, really interesting trade. But here's the next one. Aulino, you mentioned Sacramento. This one is actually Sacramento. So Ben Simmons going to the Kings for quite a bit here for Davion Mitchell, Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, and 2 first-round picks. So this time around, I'll start with Pagniello. Do you think Sacramento in this trade, if it were to go through, they're giving up too much?
I guess, honestly, it's a win just because De'Aaron Fox isn't in the deal. But if I'm the Sacramento Kings, this is a deal I might want to avoid. Because when I look at a lot of these young guys, I know Sacramento's on the butt end of a lot of jokes, but they got a lot of nice young guards here. And given all of that up for Ben Simmons, that might set them back. But in that mock trade, having a trade to Sacramento and not having De'Aaron Fox in is fucking hilarious. Because realistically, if you pitch that, I don't think there'd be any chance.
Yeah, I don't know. I think their best opportunity, like looking at some of the biggest moves that went down, probably before free agency. You look at all the guys that were out there. If they made this move at the draft, I would say that's a perfect move. I would do it if I'm Sacramento. You can target a lot of guys in free agency to come in. You got De'Aaron Fox, Simmons. Maybe you want to get somebody that goes into their team knowing what kind of season they want to have. But if you do it now, that's a little risky because then you got to fill those spots that all those guys, especially Buddy Hield, leaves behind. Like, he's not the best player in the game right now, but he's a reliable shooter, has his ups and downs during the year. I would stick to just keeping those guys for this year. Maybe trade Buddy Hield somewhere down the line at the trade deadline. But I think Ben Simmons, if you were going to go after him, I think the draft was the best opportunity for that.
Yeah, as well. I mean, I don't want to say I disagree with this trade here if I'm Sacramento, but what I saw from Halliburton this year, I just feel like I wouldn't let that guy go. If Halliburton and Fox are in the deal, I'm saying no. If I'm Sacramento, that's just my opinion. I think Halliburton, he's going to be a special player. I think Buddy Hield is obviously the odd man out here. He's been linked to being, getting traded for, I want to say, like 8 months now. So I wouldn't be surprised if Buddy Hield has a new home before the season starts. but I still think this would be too much for Ben Simmons. I like Ben Simmons. I think he's a really elite defender. His shooting obviously is his big cause for concern. But he's been a playoff player. He's led his team to the playoffs almost every single year. So it would be, I think, just the fact that Sacramento hasn't made the playoffs in so long. I think that's what they're circling on their bucket list to start, is get a guy that's had that playoff experience. And that would probably be Ben Simmons here. But I just don't see it happening just because of the assets that Philly would get back. I think that's just way too much that Sacramento will be giving up. But moving on, we got two more teams. We got the Raps and the Trailblazers. I'll start with the Blazers one. This one I think would be a little more of a blockbuster trade. This one is Ben Simmons, Tyrese Maxey, a first and rights to swap picks in 2024 for Damian Lillard. I'll start with you, Pagniello. If you're Portland, after everything Dame has done for that organization, are you pulling the trigger here and starting fresh? Or are you keeping Damian Lillard as long as you can?
Oh, I'm keeping Dame. Can you run through that again, though? Those names? That was a lot.
So it's just Simmons, Maxey, and a first for Damian Lillard.
Nah, I'm not doing that, man. As I know Ben Simmons is younger, and obviously the potential's there, and he is great. And that is a nice package deal with Lillard specifically. Yeah, like everything he's done for Portland, and like the rumors are still coming out with Dame that he wants to stay there, and they're going to continue to build around him. So, like, it's a good thought, it's a good trade, but like, nah, man, I don't see that one going down.
Yeah, if I'm Portland, I'm looking at adding Ben Simmons to McCollum and Lillard, like to that group there. I'm not looking to trade Lillard for him. So if I'm Portland, I'm actually doing the opposite. I'm going to send like first round picks. Maybe another guy off their roster to make room for Ben Simmons to come in. Norm Powell, I know he signed that nice deal, but like you got to look around. Is Norm Powell going to help them get over the hump? He's a nice addition. He's making a lot of money now, but I think if you had Ben Simmons, Lillard, Powell, and McCollum, and you can make it work salary cap wise, I think that's the best route for them.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of different people say that McCollum's the one that's going to be in the trade for Simmons, but I don't even see that going through. I think what Portland has valued and how they value McCollum and Lillard, I think it's just these are guys that they've been loyal. They've already been, I think Lillard's now, this is going to be either his 10th or 9th year with Portland, and CJ again, I think it's his 8th or 9th year. So they've been there for a long time. They value them as kings in Portland, and I think getting a trade to trade them out is very, very unlikely. So I agree with both of you there. And of course, the last one is Toronto. This is the one that I actually disagree with the most. No picks are involved. It's just Ben Simmons for OG, Fred VanVleet, and Chris Boucher. I'll start with you, Aulino. Is this as dumb a trade as it sounds, or if you're Masai, are you going through with this one?
This one is a little tough to do because you don't know what they're going to be when the season starts. Like, for all we know, they can be top 16, maybe like 6 or 7 battling it out there, or they can just be in a complete rebuild mode, and this could be the year where they look at retooling, look at Siakam when he comes in later on. You don't know when he's going to be back to 100%. Like, even though he's slated to come back in December, it might be like end of January where he's like completely with his legs under him. He's completely 100% ready to go. But it's tough if you're going to keep him with part of a core, or you're going to look at guys like Barnes, OG for the future. So I'd be hesitant to make that one now. If it was before free agency, I think this is similar to like Sacramento, where you know what you're going to get now. Then I would be making the move. But right now, I'm probably going away from that one.
I expected worse, not going to lie. I thought you were going to say like Barnes, OG, and 2 firsts. But yeah, this I'm still going to say no if you're the Raptors. I wouldn't make this deal just when I look at OG's progression and how far Fred VanVleet's come. That's still a bit of a gamble. Those are 2 of your starting players for the last few years for a guy in Ben Simmons. So that's not terrible. That's kind of a hit or miss. Like some Rap fans aren't as high on OG as we are. So I think depending on the person, they'd be like, yeah, I'd make that deal. But For me, if I'm the Raptors, I'm going to stick with the boys.
I mean, if let's say we were to get that trade through and get Ben Simmons, he'd be our starting point guard for sure because we would lose Van Fleet and Lowry in an off season, which just sounds atrocious. But you have that athletic lineup: Ben Simmons, Scotty Barnes, Pascal Siakam, Kem Birch. These guys are all absolutely athletically gifted, jack guys. So I don't know if Masai would want to go in that direction, but I feel like a guy like Ben Simmons, he's vocalized that he wants out of Philly. I just assume he wants to be on a winning team. So I feel like if he were to go to Toronto, it kind of doesn't make sense. It's a team that's a little lower in the standings than Philly, at least right now. And I just feel like he would not really be the best fit here. That's just my opinion. So I'll conclude with, out of all the trades that we've said, which one do you think is the most likely to go through?
I'll say the Golden State one. They've been kind of linked there for a while, and they have all the trade pieces. You didn't even mention who did they draft this year? I forgot the guy's name, 7th overall, and then a few picks later. So like they got so many up. Yeah, man. So like the Warriors got a lot. They got a lot of options. I think they'd be the front runners.
Yeah, I never would have thought when the Warriors dynasty looked like it was over when Durant was gone and they lost all those other guys because of the salary. But I think if they can get Ben Simmons, this is a likely one. They have a lot of pieces around them. I think this team could be scary. So I'll go Golden State is going to be aggressive in making that push. And Wiggins will be the odd one out. But if you get Ben Simmons onto that team, it's just the best fit for them. Philly, on the other hand, I think Embiid won't get too comfortable. Even though he's an MVP caliber guy, I think this could be bad if they get the return from Golden State.
Yeah, I agree too. I mean, I think Golden State has the best offer out of all the teams, but if you get Wiseman, it gets. I know he's still young, but a guy like Wiseman, I feel like he's a guy that would want to start immediately. So I don't know if they would put him at the 4, and it would just be interesting to see because I think if Wiseman were to go to Philly, I mean, it's kind of already log jammed. I completely forgot that they got Andre Drummond. So, I mean, if you get Wiseman, Drummond, and Embiid, I really don't know how they would manage those minutes. I guess Wiseman would have to be forced to play the 4. But again, that guy is 7 feet tall. He doesn't really shoot the 3, and it would have to be a completely different style of play for Philly moving on to next year. But Doc Rivers, I feel like if there's any coach that really needs a big change and can manage it, I think Doc Rivers could be that guy. So either way, Ben Simmons is probably out of a Philadelphia 76ers uniform. We got to wait and see. But now we have to move on to hockey because something really interesting happened not too long ago. There's only been about 12 offer sheets since 2006 in the NHL. And this one's funny because Carolina is returning the favor of what Montreal did 2 years ago with Sebastian Aho. This one is actually hilarious. It's 1 year at $6.1 million. I'll start this one with Aulino. Is Jesperi Kotkaniemi even worth $4 million? And if you're Carolina, where does this guy fit in their lineup?
No, he's not worth $6.1 million, but I absolutely love that they did this. Nice little payback. So I think it's a 1-year deal. So even though they get rid of the draft picks, I think Carolina was aggressive in free agency to prove that they want to win a Stanley Cup. They got Freddie Anderson. He actually fits on what they're trying to build there. They lose Dougie Hamilton, but you look at all the guys they have around on their team, they're ready to make that push. They had a really good year. You had Kotkaniemi in the mix. I think he's probably a second, third line guy. He can go up and down there. I don't see him playing with Aho and Svechnikov, but I see him being a reliable piece for them short term. I think it's a win-win. If he plays well, then it looks good after that trade. But if he doesn't, it's only 1 year. You lose a first-round pick. Just, I guess, one of the things that happens when you want to make a deal like that. But I love the statement that their GM put out there, basically copied and pasted everything that the Habs GM put, and it makes sense. He believes in the young core. He wants to be a Carolina Hurricane, so I think this was a nice move by them.
This is not a smart move on Bergevin, dating back from when he offer sheeted Aho. Because at the time, it was huge news because it never happened. But when you saw the deal, it was like 8.5 for what, 5 years? And we saw that and we're like, why would you even offer sheet that? Every single team in the fucking league would give him that money. So what Carolina did, is he worth $6 million? Absolutely not. He's not even worth fucking half of it. But that's what offer sheets are. So I love what Carolina did. They got back at Montreal. Maybe they get Kotkaniemi. I don't know if they'll match or not, but this is how you play off an offer sheet. Exactly what Carolina did. So I love it. I love the drama. I love the new rivalry between these two. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, it's smart too that they did that, because he could be like, they can re-sign him in January for half that. This was like a signing bonus type of thing, so that's jokes.
I mean, it's up to Bergevin at this point. Like, I know he made this big mistake, but it's really up to him now. It's either he believes in this guy to be the third overall pick, that, you know, he's supposed to have all this potential going third overall in 2018. I remember when he got drafted, we were all laughing. We're like, nah, there's no way they take this Finnish guy here. And they take him, and now he already might be gone. So it's up to Bergevin here if he wants to overspend on this young forward. We all know he has upside, but that cap space and the draft compensation, you got to see which one you would rather have. And if I'm Montreal, honestly, I know they just went to the Cup final, but I don't see them being that playoff team next year. And, you know, you could take it how you want it. I just don't see Montreal being a playoff team. So even looking at the first round pick, it's probably going to be like a 28th overall type thing because Carolina's unreal. So either way, it's literally up to Bergevin. I don't see Kotkaniemi staying in Carolina either way, just based off of the salary. They just signed Svetch to like $9 million. Aho is at what, like 8. So there's all these guys that are going to be up, and they're going to have to sign him. And I don't think Kotkaniemi is that much of a priority, at least for the long term for Carolina. But yeah, like what you said, for this year, they're trolling and they're going to probably get him. It's just going to be that additional piece for a playoff run for Carolina. But I did hear rumors that if Kotkaniemi were to go to Carolina, that Mark Bergevin's plan B is Christian Dvorak from Arizona. So I'll start this one with you, Pagniello. Can you see Christian Dvorak maybe replacing the production that Kotkaniemi brought in Montreal?
Yes. Quick answer. I'm still kind of surprised that he's available. I thought maybe he'd get scooped up in the expansion or maybe offered a contract. But yeah, Dvorak's a good young player. He's always been. So, I mean, they're both kind of in the same boat. Kotkaniemi should have, more potential just because he was that third overall pick. But they're both good young players. Hypothetically, if he were to just take his spot, yeah, man, he'd fit right into Montreal's lineup.
Yeah, I think Dvorak would be interesting. I think he's just looking at what Arizona wants to build, because for the last couple of years, it looked like they are a playoff team. They get Kessel. Kemper was playing amazing, Vezina level, and then he ends up getting hurt. They slide a little bit. They miss. They go pretty far in that play-in round, but then last year is where they didn't have the best of years. So I think Dvorak is just looking there and seeing where he fits. I think he would go to Montreal if they offered him that, but I think also Bergevin could see the return for Kotkaniemi, use that for Jack Eichel, and maybe bring him. I think he's a plan A. If they miss out on Eichel, if Eichel ends up staying in Buffalo or going elsewhere, I think that would be one. But Dvorak would be a nice piece. I think he could step in, not get the same amount of potential, put up that kind of numbers, but I think he'll be a reliable third line guy for them.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about Jack Eichel for quite some time, and I know that he doesn't want to play. He's kind of like Ben Simmons right now. They're in the same situation. He has, vocally said on numerous occasions that he does not want to be a part of this Buffalo Sabres team anymore. And it's, again, I've mentioned this so many times before. It's so sad because this guy, he's one of the better centers in the league when healthy. And this guy, like, offensively, he's a different monster. But going to this team, you just knew. I mean, I had that feeling from day one that this just wasn't going to turn out, just based off all the management changes they've done over the years. It causes, a lot of tension and frustration in a young player, especially like Jack Eichel. So I heard there's just a lot of different teams that are trying to get him. There's There's Vegas that's been rumored. There's the Rangers, the Islanders, Montreal now is another team that's creeping in here. I mean, I'm still going to say New York is the team that gets him in the long run, but I guess because again, New York has been linked to Tarasenko as well. Pagniello, I'll start with you. I'm going to say this for the last time. Where does Jack Eichel land?
Yeah, the New York Rangers. Big time money, big time player. Lights shine bright there. Let's go. They got a lot of options too. They've been linked to him for the longest time. They've been building prospects over the last few years. With some of the guys they have on their roster, if they feel like they're willing to sacrifice a lot of that future to get him with Panarin and maybe Zibanejad, then sure, why not? But with Montreal, I wouldn't be surprised either if the Habs send him an offer sheet. If Bergeron did it to Aho a couple of years ago, why wouldn't he do it for Eichel? So I wouldn't rule that out. But for the last time, the New York Rangers.
As this goes on, the longer it goes, I think Buffalo won't want to send him to the Rangers, but I think that would be the team that has the assets to do it. I think Tarasenko, though, should be the one they target because Buffalo's going to want so much more just because they're rivals. I think Eichel going to the Islanders, though, that's a really appealing option for him. I think he would fit in perfectly, kind of like what Tavares had, but then the team ended up making other moves when Tavares went to the Leafs. And if you add Eichel, I think he'd be a better fit right now to that team. So I think that's what they're missing. They'll probably make an aggressive offer. Lou Lamoriello will probably look at his team, look at the guys coming up and see if they're worth keeping, what their potential is long term. But yeah, Eichel, I do not think he plays another game for the Sabres. I think if he's there training camp in the next 2-3 weeks, he'll just sit out and really force the deal to go through. He got a new agent, so I think that was one way of doing it, and I think he wants out of town. But it's a shame because you look at when he got drafted, everyone was talking about him and McDavid, and now ever since he's been playing in Buffalo, they've failed to live up to expectations, and it's kind of like, if Matthews was available, maybe he would have been the guy to go there. So I think his time is up there.
It's also interesting, too. I've been heavily talking about the Rangers for the longest time, and they just get Lafreniere and Kakko back-to-back years. Georgiev is a pretty decent option too. Chido, they just re-signed to 2 years. Zibanejad has been another name. Unfortunately, Pagniello, you'll probably disagree with me here, but apparently teams have been wanting Zibanejad. So if Buffalo wants to trade with the Rangers, apparently Zibanejad has to be in the deal. I don't know how that would work out because just looking at the chemistry that Zibanejad has with players like Kreider and Panarin, I just think that's a huge risk here, even though I think Zibanejad is 4 or 5 years older than Eichel. But again, this is a very, very tricky situation for both sides, for a team that trades for Eichel and for Jack Eichel in general. The expectations that are behind this guy are just astronomical. Every single year, this guy, the offensive numbers are projecting a top 10 performance every single year, and he should do that. And this is the type of player that you're dealing with. And even though, the chemistry and the morale has not been there the last couple of years, his production is still very much there after a lot of serious injuries. So I'm going to say right now, there are 3 other teams that have emerged that I actually never thought would be in the race for Jack Eichel. I'll quickly touch on these teams and we'll talk about it. The LA Kings, the Bruins, and the Ducks have been other teams that have been heavily favored and heavily consistently communicating with Buffalo for Jack Eichel. So I'll start with you, Pagniello. Out of those 3 teams, out of everything between the Kings, the Ducks, and the Bruins, who do you think has the best potential trade package out of those 3?
Oh my God, definitely one of the California teams. Just because of where they've been over the last few years, LA has been building prospects like fucking crazy. So if either of those teams wanted to go down that route, they're probably in a better situation than New York when it comes to prospects, just how much they've been building over the last few years. They could definitely do it, but Boston, that fucking throws me off. I don't think Boston would be the team to do that. It's got Sagan, Kessel written all over it. I think those days are over. So I don't see Boston parting ways with their future there, but for the California teams, yeah, I could see it, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna go LA for that one. I think LA actually has if they want to do an offer like this where they have that young core, they want to keep Kopitar, big contract. I think they would look at Drew Doughty going the other way. I think if Doughty joins that defensive core in Buffalo, he can stabilize everything there, be the captain, be a leader for those guys, and help further them along. You got Owen Power coming in after this year, so I think the guys there right now could benefit. If you can trade Drew Doughty, his salary matches up with Eichel's. I think he makes maybe $1 million more, so it wouldn't be too crazy. Get some prospects out of it. Boston, it would only make sense because of the NCAA days that Eichel was there, but I just don't think they have anything that would move them over the top that would make Buffalo say, okay, let's take this guy. So I'll go with LA on that one.
I mean, it's safe to say it has to be like Turcotte and Byfield or like Zegras, someone of that nature. I think Zegras is going to be a huge problem for Anaheim. I want to even say as soon as next year. He's already surpassed Sam Steele as the best center prospect on the team. But I really think LA has a good shot here. I mean, you just get Byfield, you have Turcotte, you have Anderson Dolan, you have Grunstrom. You just have an abundance of players. And even if they really wanted to, they could probably part ways with a guy like Kemp. They could part ways with maybe Dustin Brown, like with the salary matching. Like if they want to dump a salary, maybe Dustin Brown's the other guy that goes to Buffalo. But I mean, for me, it's between the two huge markets, and it just fits Jack Eichel's stature is LA and New York. I think those are the two teams that are licking their lips the most when it comes to Jack Eichel. And I think come October, I think we might see Jack Eichel in one of those two jerseys, boys. But Aulino, I'm going to pass this one now to you. We got All Out AEW Sunday. Bring up the card, talk a little bit about the show. And CM Punk has his first match since 2014 in a professional wrestling ring. Look at Miro there.
Yeah, this is a pretty solid card. Rundown. They have 10 matches, which I think is a lot. And going by what AEW did with their other pay-per-views, this might go to a little past midnight, kind of like SummerSlam, I'm thinking. So people watching it should be prepared for a long one. They have, where is it here? John Moxley versus Satoshi Kojima. I'm probably butchering the poor guy's name, but Japanese legend over there. Pac versus Andrade with Chavo Guerrero in his corner. Ric Flair also rumored to be in their corner. Paul White versus QT Marshall. Jericho MJF. Miro versus Eddie Kingston. Young Bucks versus Lucha Brothers. Steel cage match. Britt Baker versus Statlander. Omega versus Christian. And CM Punk Darby Allin. So what match? I know CM Punk is a big draw here with Darby Allin, but other than that, what match really jumps out to you as must-watch TV?
Take it.
For me, I'll go Pac and Andrade. Those are two guys, like within WWE, when you look at, you're like, I would have loved to see two guys match up outside of this company to see what they could really do. I feel like it'd be very tamed over there, but man, Pac's one of the greatest wrestlers in the world and has been for a while, and Andrade's kind of just been floating around for the last few years, so this is like his big first real match on a pay-per-view. And with him and Pac, Pac's a pretty good guy to go up against. So that can low-key steal the show. There's a few matches on here that can, but yeah, I'm going to go with that one.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a great show, and I'm really happy that I don't work on the Monday to watch this. This is going to be insane. I'm going to actually go with the steel cage match for the AEW World Tag Titles, obviously. I mean, I think it was the first ever pay-per-view we had these two teams, Young Bucks versus the Lucha Bros, and that was easily match of the night. I think these two teams, every time they go up against each other, it is must-watch. And now in the steel cage, we're going to see some insane spots, and we already know that. I mean, I just assume that Matt and Nick Jackson are going to come out still the champs, but you never know with these two. I feel like they just swap belts all the time. I'm going to actually say that the Lucha Bros win here and they get back the AEW tag titles in an instant classic.
Yeah, I'm going to, for something weird here, MJF Jericho, I saw a stipulation here. If Jericho loses, he's forced to retire from wrestling in AEW. So you know how some of those work, but going by what his contract is, comes up in January, do you think maybe he's like, you know what, I've done my time here, help build this company, maybe now it's time to go back to WWE, or are they just making the stipulation to get people thinking too much into it?
Yeah, the second one. Can you imagine though if Jericho's just like, oh, they got CM Punk now. I think my job here is done. I could take it easy. I'm just going to retire. But yeah, I think Jericho's rolling. He's in the middle of it. He's been doing great stuff with MJF for a while. Yeah, man, this is a vintage Hunter Hearst Helmsley move. So I think for AEW fans, there's nothing to worry about. You got Chris Jericho for the long haul, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm going to say, he's pulling a Triple H here. He's not retiring. MJF constantly bringing up that he's beating him every time, too. That's just a recipe for failure. So I'll say Jericho wins this one in a nail-biter. There's going to be a lot of near falls and moments where you think his career's over, but this is where Jericho comes out on top.
And another thing here that's interesting. So here it is, pulled it up. Tony Khan made some interesting comments saying that in the next 4 to 6 months, he's looking to add some more stars to their AEW roster. There's going to be some additions there that he feels good about in AEW. So a lot of people looking at the free agents. Daniel Bryan was already rumored and pretty much confirmed that he's going to be in AEW. Adam Cole's out there. Do you see both of them or one of them debuting at this pay-per-view on Sunday?
Yeah, probably one of them for sure. Yeah, the rumors have been flying around like crazy now, specifically with these guys. So Daniel Bryan has been coming up the same time that CM Punk was coming up as the Chicago show got closer. So not at the same time, but yeah, I'll predict Daniel Bryan debuts at the next show just because why not?
Yeah, I'll say the same thing. I'll say Daniel Bryan comes out here at All Out and maybe cost CM Punk the match. I really don't know what they want to do here. If they want to have Daniel Bryan as a heel or CM Punk, as both faces, like he comes back and like they shake each other's hands and close out the show. I really don't know how they want to do it, but I have a feeling that Daniel Bryan is going to be All Out and he's going to be AEW bound very, very soon.
And if you're booking Adam Cole's debut, how do you think they should go about with that? Should it be attacking Christian, or should he go towards Kenny Omega and come in as a babyface?
You want to take that?
Oh man, he should. I mean, just his run in WWE, I think he should attack Christian. I think that just makes sense. Just losing to Kyle O'Reilly, one of the bigger baby faces in NXT. Just bring that frustration over to AEW and just take it out on Christian, a nice veteran, and have yourselves a nice feud moving forward. I mean, even if it were to be Kenny Omega, that's just something that is so deserving of Adam Cole. I mean, he should have been on the main roster in WWE, I want to say after a year in NXT, but they never really pulled the trigger there. So if I'm AEW, I'm definitely going all out for Adam Cole for sure.
Okay, so now that I'm thinking about it, maybe Adam Cole could debut at the next pay-per-view. Like, let's assume Kenny Omega wins, and then Adam Cole can come out after the match. Because those were the last two leaders of kind of like the Bullet Club, and then like Kenny kind of took over for Adam Cole when he got signed by WWE. So if Adam Cole came in as a babyface to take on Kenny Omega, everything would kind of connect there with the Young Bucks too, being with both of them. So like, that would actually be monstrous. So, Aulino, I could see that happening.
Yeah, so we got those ones coming in. The women's side, I see that Battle Royal, probably Ruby Riott coming in, being that surprise entrant or whatever they call that, and that buy-in thing. But is there anyone else that you think would come in at an all-out and like really set the stage for another pay-per-view, or should they save those for Dynamite so they have programming to get people buzzing?
Take it, buddy.
Save it for some Dynamite move.
I mean, yeah, you could save it for Dynamite. Either way, I think it'll be fine, Aulino. I think either way, but you know what? Yeah, just save it for Dynamite.
I mean, you're having these big returns at these huge pay-per-views. Why not get some love on the TV? And they're doing it properly too. Like, it's not like, oh, next week this guy's going to be showing up at this show. No, like, everyone's already tuning in to AEW on Wednesdays because of everything they've been doing. So if they could throw a little sneak attack surprise on a Wednesday night, why the fuck not?
I like it. And Miro's TNT championship reign has been interesting. Like, he started off, it didn't look like it was too promising there. It looked like he was getting into that same role where he was in WWE, getting lost in the shuffle. But this reign has really shown people he can handle it. Do you think they should keep this title reign going longer, or should he be moving on to bigger and better things over there?
I think eventually his time will come. It's kind of, I'm getting like, I think it was his first U.S. title run where he was kind of broke out as like that monster, the Bulgarian brute. You're kind of getting flashes of that now, but now it's like on a much bigger scale because the creative freedom is just, it's a lot more loose, and you can tell just listening to him speak on the mic and the way he moves. He's just he seems much more confident since not winning the title, but really just stepping foot on that in the company. So I think Miro will eventually get to the main event title picture, but for now, just let him roll with it.
Yeah, I really like this match too. I think this match could surprise a lot of people with Eddie Kingston. I like both of their characters. I think Miro, though, like since way back in WWE, like 2017, 2018, even that run he did with AJ Styles for the WWE title when he had that match, like he's shown so many times that he does have the potential to be a main event type player. And when it was Rusev Day, he had the crowd behind him. And either way, if he's a face or a heel, I think eventually he will get that spot. I agree there. And I think I don't know like when, because they're loaded now with people. And if they want to give titles to these experienced guys like Punk and Jericho and maybe Moxley again before a Miro, that's okay. But eventually I will say that we're probably going to get Miro versus Andrade at some point for that AEW title.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. Maybe Andrade gets the big win over Pac. I think something weird here with Pac, too, is he's kind of gone from a singles guy who was unbeatable, then Kenny beats him. He goes on to the six-man group there with the Lucha Bros. Do you think he's unfortunately getting lost in the shuffle right now with all these new people coming in?
Take it.
Who do I think's getting lost?
Oh, Pac.
Yes and no. I think during matches like we're gonna see on Sunday, I think he's gonna prove why he's still in the company, and even though he's not featured as much, he's still gonna put on that eye-popping performance and be like, "Oh yeah, there's Pac. He's one of the greatest wrestlers in the world." I mean, Pagniello said it best. Even if you don't see a superstar a lot, the only thing you remember is the consistent performances, and that's what Pac does. Every single match he's in is, if it's not match of the night, it's the second best match of the night. So even though he hasn't been featured that much, I don't think it's that much of a problem as long as he gets those pay-per-view matches.
I think it's one of those things. Cody just kind of sits in the side and he's like, "Hey, don't worry, we got something planned for you." Just a lot of other guys are on a hot streak right now.
Do you think Cody comes back at this event and turns heel, or you think he's going to sit this one out?
I see him. I see him sitting it out.
He should sit it out. It's not fucking about him. Just when you look at this show and all the big things that are happening I think he could sit it out. Maybe that's the one you could sneak attack on a Wednesday night.
I like it. It's not about you. Stay at home.
I also wouldn't be surprised if they did like Adam Cole versus Cody Rhodes. Like they both come back on the Wednesday and they just decide to feud against each other.
Say Cody comes out and he thinks it's about him, and then a minute later, Adam just like rocks him from behind with a chair.
Are you surprised that Malachi Black isn't on the card here? He's had a big debut. He beats Cody, which is a surprise because everyone knows the drill. When a guy from WWE comes over, Cody ends up getting the win over them. So he actually got a quick squash over him, and he's not even on All Out. Is that something they'll regret here?
Take it, bud.
No, I don't think he'll regret it. I just think it's all a process, man. At the end of the day, some you have to sit out. Some, like, look at all the guys in WWE over the years, man. Like that didn't get that opportunity. Even look at Kevin Owens now. Like, there's moments for everybody where you got to sit some stuff out, and it's just business. So I'll say just keep your head high and just keep thinking positive. Just keep thinking positive.
I mean, maybe they missed just because of what you just said. He beat Cody, and it would have made sense. But because of all the big matches on this card, I think they can get away with it for now. But yeah, Malachi Black, man, just his whole aura around him. It really doesn't matter where he goes. That's just a bona fide star. That's what a wrestler should be. So similar with Pac, like something's brewing there. I'm not worried about him.
Well, speaking of bona fide stars, that was All Out. I think we should end it on another little positive note. Bona fide star over the weekend went back to his old stomping grounds and had himself a time in the Chase there, that hotel, St. Louis. Ric Flair, NWA, pretty much confirmed that he's going to AEW because he said something about, I'll go on Thursday with Tony Khan, and he has a right to, like, go everywhere. So I thought that was a little interesting that he just let it out like that, but whatever. He can do what he wants. What do you think of him going out on another promotion and basically talking about WWE? Do you think that was part of the deal, or do you think he was just, you know what, talk about WWE on an NWA show there?
It's probably part of the deal, but at the same time, I think you just said it. He does what he wants. So, but yeah, man, Vince McMahon, Ric Flair, I'm sure they have an immaculate relationship. So I don't think he surprised them with this. If, like, Vince going on the internet and be like, what the fuck's he doing? But, like, when you set this in the chat and you're like, it was basically a Hall of Fame speech, he's mentioning everyone, I started laughing, and then I played it, and he's like, word for word, I gotta thank Triple H and Undertaker, and I'm like, what the fuck's he doing? But he was just going off, and yeah, it was nice to see him back in his old stomping grounds for sure.
Yeah, I think it was a part of the deal, and I think it was just excitement too. You know, being somewhere else, just kind of maybe even talking about his experience in WWE and just being generally excited going back to where he started and telling people his journey. But I wouldn't be surprised, like you said, he's in his 70s. I think he's now 70 now, so he probably either forgot or he just wants to speak his mind, man. It's all about freedom.
Yeah, he took the jacket off too. He was pumped up for this promo. It was one of those where the voice gets louder, the jacket comes off. He even comes out at the end there, celebrates with Trevor Murdoch, who wins the title. Solid veteran right there. But if he goes to AEW, I know we've had this convo before. Should Tony Khan say, okay, we'll put you in the ring, or should he say, you know what, you took a little too many bumps. Let's sit this one out and enjoy from ringside?
Hopefully the ringside one for his own health. But Nate is going to see Sting over there and his buddy Arn, and he's going to get motivated. And then before you know it, 3 months into his contract, he's going to be like, fuck it, I'm putting the tights back on. I want a 6-match deal over the next 5 months.
I'm just going to say ringside just because of his health. I don't want this guy taking a bump and then doing what he did at WrestleMania 22 and just, start yelling and getting the X's in the trainer. Like, I just think it's best for Tony Khan and for AEW if he were to go to the show, being a manager for El Idolo with Chavo, and then you have Sting with Darby or whoever. I just think it's just best if he just stays as a manager, man. Just strut it outside the ring and just keep chanting your woos. Everybody knows it.
Yeah, I love it. He'll probably be in the ring though. unfortunately. But guess on that note, Chris, would you want to add anything else there, Pagniello, to close us out?
With
Nah,
your
man,
Holmes.
just stay tuned for AEW this Sunday. It's going to be an outstanding show. Also, looking forward to seeing if Carolina ends up signing Kotkaniemi, see if Montreal is going to match it or not. If not, I guess this means all eyes on Suzuki and Caulfield moving forward. And of course, we got to find out sooner rather than later where Ben Simmons and Jack Eichel go, because they're two absolute superstars in their respected leagues. So with that being said, this is In the Zone, episode 146, signing off.